803-0550, the phone number. Sal Capaccio now on the West Her hotline. Bills and Steelers on Sunday. Morning, Sal. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving.
I did. Had a great Thanksgiving. Hope you did as well. I'm just a regular, I'm basically a meat and potatoes guy anyway, and I'm thinking everybody's always like, what side dish?
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, honestly.
Turkey and mashed potatoes and you're good.
Stuffing, and I'm good.
Yeah. How many side dishes would you say are available at the, are you going for everything? Do you feel like you got to try everything?
No, I don't. Sometimes we had corn. We had, there's a whole bunch of stuff you have, right? I mean,
cranberry sauce.
We're going through it. Yeah, I mean, you have everything, but but I'm just like, I don't need all that. I literally, because then I'll overeat, and I want to do that, and I want to save some room for later a little bit.
Yes.
So, and then, yesterday was a little different because typically the first game is like, well, the Lions kind of stink. Now, I know they haven't for a couple of years, or maybe they're playing to stink. That was a really good game, and then it was a really good game, right? I mean, good matchup, and then good game. And then you're like the 4 o'clock game, a lot of times, you sit back, couple NFC teams. No, it's Chiefs-Cowboys. Mm-hmm. So instead of having this food coma where you fall asleep for a couple hours, you're like, okay, let's go, baby. And, of course, I thought yesterday, overall, was just a great day for football, too.
Definitely. And the 3 teams that lose yesterday, Sal, the Lions, the Chiefs, and the Ravens all finding themselves out of the playoff picture this late in the year is one thing. But I think the Chiefs are the biggest story because the Ravens, they lose. They don't look right at all. But they could be back in a spot by Sunday if the Bills beat the Steelers. Their bar to get in is you just got to be better than Pittsburgh. The Lions, with the loss, they're still a half game, a game out. They still have a great look at it. Sal, I feel like the Chiefs really might have to run the table, given that they have no tiebreakers. And they have 6 losses already. I don't know if they can make it if they get to 7.
Agreed with you. The way I was looking at it this morning, I tweeted out the standings this morning. People can see it in the AFC if you look at it. So obviously Pittsburgh, Baltimore, one of them is going to win the division. Mm-hmm. If you pencil in New England where they are, Denver where they are, you're probably Indy, I guess. I guess Houston could catch it, but here's the deal. I think you have 5 teams fighting for 3 spots. Those teams are the Chargers, the Jaguars, the Bills, the Texans, and the Chiefs. The Bills beat the Chiefs. The Jags beat the Chiefs. The Chiefs play the Texans still. The Texans beat the Bills.
The Chargers beat the Chiefs too.
Chargers. There you go. Chargers beat the Chiefs, and they do play again. You're right. So the Chiefs have all these. You're right. Not in these tiebreakers. You can't. They don't have them. The thing that you could get to though sometimes is if you have a situation where not every team's played each other. Mm-hmm. Because the Bills haven't played the Jags and they won't. They haven't played the Chargers and they won't. So there's all these tiebreakers there.
Yep.
Then you bypass that part of it and you go to conference record. But the Chiefs are hurting themselves there too. But so do the Bills in that regard. That's why a game like this weekend is so massive for the Bills because it is conference record as well. That could come into play at the end of the day here between all these teams. But you're right, Joe. You think about the teams that are typically there, and I know Burrow and the Bengals. They've had their ups and downs, but when he's healthy, they've been there and playing. But right now, no Bengals, no Chiefs, no Ravens. And as frustrating as this season has been for the Bills, and certainly you could just go, oh, my God, everything is there for them for the taking, and they didn't take advantage of it. I'm with you. I understand that. But, oh, my gosh, those other fan bases, think about those other fan bases compared to where the Bills are. At least the Bills are in a spot right now, and you're like, holy cow, just get there because everybody else seems to be totally it's bizarro world here.
I feel like what that's going to do, almost separate from what the games have actually looked like, is if the Bills, even if they're on the road, Sal, in the playoffs, heading into that, I think fans are going to raise the level of expectation just because if Kansas City has missed, because they will know, man, the boogeyman's not here. The 2 teams that you've lost to in the postseason are not here at the dance, and now's the time to get through it, and we'll still have to decipher whether the Bills are capable of getting through an AFC that doesn't even include Kansas City or Cincinnati.
Right. I think the challenge is obviously independent of just how they're playing, right? There's a lot of issues on the field of, protection issues, stopping the run. I get all that. But just aesthetically, 30,000-foot view, it looks like the Bills would have to win 3 games on the road to get, to the Super Bowl. Now, typically, if you're talking going to Kansas City, going to Baltimore, going to Cincy, let's be honest. These are typically teams now, though, that you look and go, okay, don't you think they could go to Denver and win? I know. I do. I know how they've played and how they've looked and things have happened, and that's a really good defense. I'm just saying, though, that's a different deal than what you think about Kansas City generally. That's a different deal than what you think about Baltimore and going there and, the way they've looked. So right now it's New England. Joe, when the Bills play the Patriots in a few weeks, the Bills could put themselves in a position where by beating them, they kind of set up a rematch in the playoffs. I was thinking about that, too. Because they could knock them out of the top spot, New England, and maybe New England falls down and the Bills are, the 5-4, the 6-3 or something like that. But that could happen. There's so much football to be played. I just think it's fascinating.
Yeah. Sal Capaccio with us on the Western Hotline. The AFC is super interesting. And as you mentioned, big game this week, not just for the win-loss record, but for tiebreakers, conference record. So before we get into the matchup itself, Sal, let's start with the Barnes Firm Injury Report, brought to you by the Barnes Firm Injured for Help. Call 1-800-8-MILLION. So is offensive line the biggest story here? Just in part because we haven't really had to talk about injuries on the line in years, and here's the Bills without either of their two starting offensive tackles at practice yet.
Yeah, I think it's the biggest story right now, and there are a couple others that are really big that we can get into here injury-wise, but, right now, Joe, the way it's trending, the Bills will be without both of their starting tackles, their left tackle and the right tackle, Deion Dawkins and Spencer Brown, respectively, because of Spencer Brown's shoulder injury and Deion Dawkins being in concussion protocol, and he has not practiced. And if he doesn't practice today, there's almost no chance he can play on Sunday. I believe you have to get 2 practices in the week in some capacity. I think I have to go back and look at the actual clearance and protocol rules. But even if he didn't, it would be like, okay, that'd be pretty stunning. I don't think you can have that happen. But anyway, so what does that mean? Ryan Vandermark has been the swing tackle for this team this year, and he would be playing one of those spots. Tylan Grable was the swing tackle last year, but then he got hurt, and Vandermark came in and actually played really well against the Chiefs, you remember, in that game, where I think it was Deion who didn't play or Spencer Brown didn't play. And one of them, I can't remember which one, but either way, the point is, now you're looking at both of them. But the problem is, Tylan Grable hasn't even played all year. He's been in concussion protocol. He had a concussion, so he's placed on IR, and then they just kept him there. Now they opened his window. So you'd have to activate him by Saturday at 4 p.m. If you do that, someone's also got to be taken off the roster. The other part of this that's really interesting to me is they have right now 9 offensive linemen on the active roster. You have to have 8 active on game day in order to trigger a 48-man active roster. Well, if you have both your tackles down, now you're down to 7. You're not going to activate Chase Lunt on game day, I don't think. He's on the roster. You're not going to waive him. So you need to go with Tylan Grable here, I think, to be able to do that. So to me, it's like a no-brainer, unless Deion Dawkins comes back here.
Right, which would make this a lot easier. If he doesn't, so it could be Grable and Vandermark, right? And then who would be they would be off to the practice squad for backup in the game if something else were to happen?
I think so. Then you'd probably elevate somebody from the practice squad. Yep, yeah. That's right. Maybe Nick Roker or someone like that. He's a guard, I think. But I don't know. You're looking at it's a tricky situation. We'll see what happens today. Sean McDermott's going to join me for his weekly radio interview during the Extra Point show a little bit later today. We'll get more of an update on that. And the other thing is, Joe, I don't know where each guy, which side each guy would play.
Mm-hmm.
If you're starting Vandermark and Grable, who's left, who's right, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it's a tough-ish pass rush, too. It's not the unit that the Bills just saw. But when you look at the matchup and what adjustments the Bills could make, Sal, McDermott again mentioned the 12 hit stat on Wednesday. He's said that a few times. So he's clearly not wanting to see his quarterback get hit. And if they have a couple of backup tackles, or at least one, against TJ Watt, who might not be the same, but he's still good. Alex Highsmith practiced in full, so he should be back. Urbig's having a big year. So, I don't know, is this a game where you would expect the Bills more often to keep, running backs and tight ends into block?
Yeah, first of all, you're right, Joe. It's in his craw. It's sticking there, and it should be, about how many times his quarterback got hit. How many times did I come on here with you guys going back to the offseason and through this year and saying they're playing a long game with Josh Allen, right? This has been a theme. I've told you guys just by things that they've said. It's clear, going back to the combine, going back to owners' meetings, going back to the draft, going back to free agency, OTAs, minicamp. Anytime Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane would talk, there were subtle messages about we just need to keep Josh healthy. He needs to be healthy going to the playoffs. Like, to me, it's been a conscious effort. So when that happens last week, that's a big deal to the organization. That's a big deal to Sean McDermott, no doubt, and that's why he's mentioned it. So, yeah, we were joking. I was in the media room Wednesday, and Josh Reed and I were sitting next to each other. We were talking about this very thing, and we were like, we wouldn't be surprised to go out to practice and see wide receivers doing pass pro drills. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Joe, they're going to fortify. I think they're going to build a fort. Like, you know, when you're a kid, Max still does this, you know, and when he's a kid, a little more so, of course, a little bit. You know, he's like, Dad, let's build a fort, right? Like, that's what this week is. Build a fort for Josh Allen. That's what they're going to do, Joe. I really believe it. You're right. The problem is, build a fort all you want. You can have 9 guys pass protecting. Who's going to catch passes then, right? Like, it's such a double-edged sword sometimes, where you can have as much pass pro as you want, and that's great. And pass protection, let's do it. Well, are you sending just one guy out in the pass route then? It's so tough to thread that needle. So that's why, Joe, I think what you really have to do, honestly, you got to lean into the run game here. This is a leaky Steelers run defense at times, especially early in the year. They've been better. The Bengals ran for over 7 yards a carry on them, and then all of a sudden they shut Jonathan Taylor down to 1.2 yards a carry. So who knows? But they have been run on this year. I think that's the Bills' path this week. They have to run the ball. You want to keep Josh Allen upright? Just have him hand the ball off and be successful in the run game. Get to 3rd and 2s, or take a couple to the house if you're James Cook, and that would help a lot.
Sal Capaccio with us. Before we get too far away from the injury report, Bernard, and then also the 2 receivers, Josh Palmer and Curtis Samuel, especially Palmer, Sal. Like, did that kind of come out of nowhere? Like, that could have been something that maybe even happened this week?
Yeah, I'm going to ask Sean about that today because, I mean, McDermott did not include Josh Palmer in his injury update to us on Wednesday. And then they practice, and then he's limited, and then he's a DNP yesterday. Well, something obviously happened. So, I mean, now what are we talking about? We didn't even get to Brandin Cooks. I know we talked about him, you and I did the other day, but, I mean, Brandin Cooks might just have to play by circumstance of numbers here now.
Right.
Whether or not, they plan on having him available and ready. And I just think Keon Coleman's going to play anyway. I mean, Sean, on Wednesday, I thought it was noteworthy that he reiterated that it was not disciplinary that Keon Coleman did not play last Thursday. It was simply the quick turnaround and what had happened on Sunday, and they wanted the same group. Well, for him to do that and him to say that kind of leads me to believe that he doesn't play on Sunday. Oh my gosh, then there's something going on, because it feels like he's telling us, hey, he's ready to go. That wasn't disciplinary. So what would that be then on Sunday if he didn't play, right? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I think you look at Keon, and I think Brandin Cooks might have to be, available to play for this team on Sunday.
Right. It would be, if we lay it out here, you would expect who? Davis, Shakir, Coleman, Cooks, and Shavers? Is that your 5? Probably.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's right. If you're thinking about no more Elijah Moore, he got let go, and then you have Curtis Samuel, who has not practiced. Maybe that's the move to get Grable back, is maybe Samuel goes on IR or something.
Right.
Right. And then you have Josh Palmer, who was a DMP yesterday. So those would be your 2 guys out. And you're right. You would elevate Gabe. That would be his last elevation, by the way, that he'd be allowed.
Right.
So after that, you'd have to figure out how to get him on the 53 if you want to use him.
You probably would think, too, that Coleman going back in with those injuries and Cooks just getting here, like, what could he really do right away? I don't know that he would play 90, 80% like he was playing, Sal, but I feel like he'd have to play. Not just get a jersey. Like, you would see significant playing time.
Oh, I agree with that. And the other one that's really big here is Dalton Kincaid. He was limited yesterday, which is a really good sign. But, I mean, he is such a big integral part of what they need to do and be able to do offensively. When he's not on the field, it is a much different passing game and protection and everything, because teams just have to respect the middle of the field more from the Bills. And the Steelers, Joe, have given up some big numbers to some tight ends this year, some games. Like, I don't say big numbers, but they've tight ends have done some decent work against the Steelers. Like, that's a big spot, I think, for the Bills this weekend.
Sal Capaccio with us. What else on the Steelers? Is there anything else that strikes you as challenging? They're very middle of the road in a lot of their numbers, whether that's them passing the ball or, certain numbers on defense. I don't know. Does it feel like a team that's kind of, they're okay at everything, but they're maybe not elite at any specific thing, or do you see something that sticks out?
They can still, they can get to the passer, as you mentioned. It's not the group from last week, but when you get Highsmith back, Joe, they have 4 guys who have more sacks than the Bills' top guy. Joey Bosa has 4 for the Bills. They have 4 guys with more than that. All right. So, they can get to Sean McDermott said they blitz well from the linebacker spot. I think they're going to come after it. They're going to come after the Bills. That's their ticket. They're going to try and force fumbles. They're going to try and force the Bills into a game that the Bills don't want to play, turning the ball over. And then what the Steelers do is they play such a risk-averse type of game. And that's why I think one of the things is this week, you have to, what the challenge is this week? Tackle. They need to tackle this week. The Steelers are going to throw a lot of short passes and run the ball. That's what they're going to do. So they do. They're going to throw short passes and run the ball, especially considering Aaron Rodgers has a broken wrist on his left hand. Are they going to keep him back there and wait for guys to get downfield and risk taking a shot? I can't see it. They already don't do that. The guy has the lowest average depth of target in the league of any qualifying quarterback. He throws everything as short. The average depth of target for Aaron Rodgers on just his completions alone are less than 4 yards, Joe. That's really low. So they're going to throw the ball underneath. They're going to throw it to their running backs. They're going to use their tight ends. They don't use them as much as people thought they would there. They're going to run the ball. The Bills have to tackle. That's what they have to do. That's the challenge for them this week. For the Bills running, going back to them real quick, the Steelers will be without Derek Harmon, and he's a good run defender for them. They're first-round defensive tackle out of Oregon, and they're also without their starting left tackle, Broderick Jones. So I know he's been up and down anyway. It's not like the Bills losing Dion. If the Bills do, but it is a significant loss for them. But you're right. They don't do anything great except maybe play a really close conservative game and take advantage of your mistakes. When they play that kind of game and it goes their way, that's when they win. That's how they beat the Patriots earlier this year. But if it doesn't go their way, that's how they lose to teams like the Chicago Bears last week.
Right. Sal Capaccio with us. Their record, by the way, in Pittsburgh, Sal, they won there the last time they were there. Do you know how long it's been since they won in Pittsburgh before their last game? Do you even remember the last game? The last game was the Tyler Kroft Sunday night game.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that was a Sunday night. That game got flexed in the Sunday Night Football.
Yes.
And Duck Hodges played quarterback for the Steelers.
Duck Hodges.
And the Bills won the game and clinched a playoff spot that night. I remember that.
Yep.
And then I'm trying to think before that. E.J. Manuel played a game there, but I don't think he beat them there.
Nope.
And that was rough, actually. I remember that game. I'm trying to think. No, I'll
give it to you. You got to go.
Wait. My guess would be the playoffs, the Super Bowl run, the week after the comeback.
Yes, exactly. Good. Yeah, 93. 93 playoffs is the last time. That's the second to last time they won in Pittsburgh. They do not win there often. They also don't play there all the time. They've only played in Pittsburgh twice since 96. So.
Yeah, that was the old stadium. That was Three Rivers. That's the old turf and the old stadium, Three Rivers, where the Steelers and the Pirates both played. I'll tell you what I remember about that, Joe, is the Bills have the comeback against the Oilers, right?
Yep.
Greatest comeback in NFL history. It's Frank Reich. And I remember the week leading up to that, okay, they're going to Pittsburgh now, okay. And, there was a sign in Pittsburgh. It literally said, no comebacks allowed, go Steelers, or something like that. It just stuck out in my head, something like that.
Yeah, and then the Bills won 24-3, so I'm not sure they needed a comeback.
No, they didn't. The Bills just won they just played really well.
Yeah.
There was another game in Pittsburgh during that era in the playoffs.
Okay.
The Bills went to Pittsburgh, and Bruce Smith woke up with a massive fever and temperature and didn't play, and the Bills wound up losing the game in the playoffs to the Steelers.
96, does that sound right?
I think so. That's the year that's the year I think that the Steelers went to the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah, 96. Bam Norris scored a couple touchdowns. Yeah. Pittsburgh won 40-21. Yeah, I don't see Bruce Smith anywhere here. So that would make sense.
Yeah, I'm not saying Bruce would have necessarily mattered, but obviously that's a big deal, right? When you lose Bruce, and that's, but yeah, so I do remember a few of those games. The Bills, it was nightmarish. Go back and look at a couple of the Monday night games they played in Pittsburgh during that time. The Carnell Lake with a pick. It just, oh my God, they just demolished the Bills in those settings.
Yeah. All right, we'll see if they can get another one here in Pittsburgh. A very different type of Steelers team these days, but still competitive.
Yeah, for sure.
In a lot of these games, they do have a winning record. Sal Capaccio has the extra point show, and Sean McDermott today. Usual deal for Sean and timing, like could be a little fluid.
Yeah, I'm expecting him later in the show today than earlier though. Even later than normal, but we'll see. They do production meetings. It's always different. The TV production meetings, Joe, and then it's Black Friday. It's a different week with Thanksgiving, and this is a Nance Romo Tracy Wolfson game, so the TV production meetings when you're in a national window, it's a little behind the scenes for everybody. When you're in a national TV game, the TV production meeting is a little bit more, obviously as you think, a little longer, more in depth. So our timing is based on all of that they do when they do all those things too.
We'll stay tuned for the extra point show. Sean McDermott a little bit later on. Thank you, Sal.
You got it.
Sal Capaccio on the Western Hotline.